In the seventh question, Foucault has been asked about two different concepts, that is ideology and repression, because these concepts are somehow looked upon in the similar line, whereas they are completely different. For this, Alessandro and Pascal refers to Marxist phenomenology, which serves as a screen, but at the same time, it also serves as an obstacle. Okay? And it talks about high ideology, but at the same time, it also talks about repression. Repression, remember, when we studied Freud, we talked about id, we talked about hidden desires that we protect and do not let come out, isn't it? So repression is generally referred to sexuality according to Freud. And Michel Foucault is not saying something different, but he's saying that if there is openness, if there is some kind of ideological thought, then there is also some kind of repression. And in his work, Discipline and Punish, he reflects more light on the positive history, the emergence of positivity, negating any kind of what do you call dark repression or any kind of dark desires. So he talks very positively about the history, how the concept of repression has emerged in a very positive note, and also he talks about how the notion of or the genesis of ideology has been worked upon. And he does not use any kind of negativity, right? So he talks about the notion of ideology. And also he talks about, in the response, he talks about the concept of repression. So he was asked to reflect more light on these two lines, ideology and repression. That is the seventh question. The eighth question is actually not a proper question, but you can say it is an addition that or it's a supplement that Alessandro and Pascal provides during the interview with Foucault, because here he talks about the genesis of the concept of repression. Okay, especially how, for example, they give example of how the campaign launched against masturbation in 18th century, okay, or the medical discourse on homosexuality in the second half of the 19th century. These discourses were looked upon, and how eventually the discourse of repression and with respect to or within the realm of sexuality has been taken. So what is in reality and how it is looked upon, these are two different things. Okay, and he provides a series of interventions. He provides positive interventions also, and he also tells about how not exactly how he tells about, but they add to his explanation in the book called History of Sexuality that has been documented by Foucault himself. Here, Alessandro, they add to this concept of repression and sexuality or the ideology at the most in the eighth edition or eighth point. They talk about that they want Foucault to speak more about the crusade against masturbation, why it is a taboo. Okay, so they just want to know about it, how Foucault would look upon that concept of masturbation. In the ninth question, Alessandro and Pascal, they bring about the notion of power and how power is mediated through various forms. Okay, it can be law, it can be philosophical theories, it can be any means by which power is imposed and utilized. Okay, and those who utilize power, they are always in a dominant category or in a dominant position, and because they know how to exercise power. And then there are still some people who undergo or experience that dominance, and there are some people, you have already found that in Marxism, isn't it? The ruled class is there, all right, they are always dominating, and there is the class is there, the ruler class, the ruling class is there, and the ruled class, right? So one who dominates and one who are subjected to those domination. Okay, so in this point, Alessandro and Pascal wants Foucault to reflect more on the concept of how power is mediated. At the 10th point, or 10th question, the interviewers, Alessandro and Pascal, they talk about discipline, the concept of how discipline is imposed upon people and how it exercises control over the subjects through different notions or different functions as punishment, correction, education. There are so many ways of exercising power towards the or upon the subjects. So they were more interested to know why it emerges, and what is the use of such kind of a power, and how these power, not only about how these power are how this power is exercised, but also it has been looked upon, if it is looked upon as a totalitarian subject, if it is looked upon as witnessed in 16th and 17th centuries, how the concept of having a professional army, having police, having administrative bureaucracy, how these concepts came into being. So they wanted to basically ask Foucault that how these people came to power. What is the root cause of such bureaucracy, such power? How without the king also one can impose discipline and punishment through these disciplines like army, police, and administrative bureau. So what is the genesis of these people, what is the genesis of these streams or these disciplines, that Foucault was asked in the 10th point.